going to try something new this morning. We're going to have a gong to call everyone into the main hall. We'll see if it works. They are unruly no matter what we do. Oh, it did work. Yay. Should I start? All right. So before we start today, we have a few announcements. Today is pumpkin potluck after the service in the social hall. Look for everything pumpkin and more. It's open to all, even if you didn't remember to bring something. There's always plenty of food. And we as a congregation seem to have pumpkins on the mind because the Pumpkin Queens would like you to know that sales at the pumpkin patch are off to a great start. There are still many opportunities for you to help out, so please stop by after the service at the table and sign up for a shift. It's a lot of fun, and the weather's been gorgeous, so it's just a good... Oh, no gong now. Many thanks to all who have already helped. And the Pumpkin Ladies have partnered with students from St. Patrick's who are holding a lemonade stand and bake sale today. Their proceeds are going towards hurricane relief, so definitely stop by the patch for some special treats. A newcomers and new members orientation will take place on Saturday, November 16th from 9:30 to noon. Learn about the fellowship from leaders representing social justice, the congregational governance, finance, our history, religious education. There'll be a light breakfast, and for information, you can email or see Shelley Lauer-Bader. Shelley, will you raise your hand? You're raising your hand so people can see you to sign up for the new members orientation. And these and more announcements are in our weekly e-newsletter, so if you don't get the e-newsletter every Thursday, just sign up at our website, UUFH.org. Oops. Good morning. I'm Lisa Burby, and my pronouns are she, her, and I am the worship associate this morning. I'm pleased to welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Huntington. Hello to those of you who are watching on Zoom or later on YouTube. I'd like to extend a special welcome today to newcomers and visitors. If you are new to our congregation and want to speak with someone to learn more about us, please visit our membership table in the social hall or speak to one of the greeters you met on the way in. Note that our services are varied, with 3 Sundays a month led by our contract minister, Pastor Madeline, and 1 Sunday a month like today by a guest speaker. So we hope you'll visit us more than once. And know that whoever you are, whomever you love, and wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. Today's speaker is Ray Milstead, whose pronouns are she, they. Ray is a first-year student at Union Theological Seminary pursuing a Master of Divinity and Chaplaincy. They're originally from Austin, Texas, and served as youth dean for the Unitarian Universalist Church of Austin during their high school years. Ray has spent the last few years in Swannanoa, North Carolina, to study biology and receive their Bachelor of Science degree in biology, this past May, from Warren Wilson College. While an undergraduate, Ray was also a member of the Spiritual Life crew on campus and served as an interfaith activities planner. While Ray claims the Unitarian Universalist tradition as their own, they also recognize that they were raised in a family with strong pagan, Catholic, and Presbyterian traditions that have influenced their traditions and beliefs, as well as a love for the environmental justice that has built on years of studying biology. Outside of Ray's educational path and spiritual walk of life, they like to write, cook, study birds, and spend time with their partner and their pets. Welcome, Ray.
For this morning, I'd like to share words from a sermon for the First UU Church of New Orleans on Sunday, August 27, 2006, after Hurricane Katrina, as it holds truth to the current lives being lived in southern Appalachia. Today we remember, not in the sense that we could ever forget, but in the intentional sense that we have brought forth into the sacred space, the names of those who have gone before us into the great mystery. As we light the chalice here today, we celebrate, too, that we, as two communities worshiping as one, have had the great fortune to survive. We celebrate that we are alive, that in these bodies are beating hearts whose beat keeps time for a city still grieving. We celebrate that we are still here to tell the stories and to create the stories of the future.
I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in singing our first hymn, number 1009, in the teal hymnal. There are hymnals on the sides if you would like to take one for today. Please join me in singing the affirmation. The words will be on the screen. This is a time in our service when you're invited to light a candle for something deep in your heart. Today's pastoral care associate, who is my pastoral care associate? Oh, thank you. Linda will join us at the candles in the front She'll have a basket for cards for joys and concerns you'd like shared with the congregation. She has blank cards and pens if you'd like to write something now. As Dylan plays, I invite you to come forward. There are candle tables in the front and one in the back. We remember all those who are recovering from hurricanes Helene and Milton. And we think of those who are suffering, all of those people who are suffering in both Gaza and Palestine. For these names, for these cares and those unspoken, we take a moment of peace and quiet to think and reflect.
O Spirit of life, we seek you. In the midst of the unknown, the scary, and the harrowing, we give thanks. For those who are experiencing loss in any capacity and yet still breathing, as they grapple with the daunting that comes with the great gons on deer that life brings. May our thoughts keep them in mind, and may they feel some moments of grace amidst the grief. For those whose hearts and spirits are open to the cries of your people, whose hands perform daily acts of compassion and mercy, such as those who are tired, traumatized, and devastated by Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, such as those who are on the ground every day, working to keep communities alive. May our thoughts keep them in mind. May they feel some moments of rest. Such as those who are being disproportionately caught in the crosshairs of the empires, never not knowing the fear that comes with just existing. Such as those who are oppressed, incarcerated, and those who have been lost in a war that no nation is important enough to justify when it comes to the wholesale destruction of human life. May our thoughts keep them in mind, and may they feel moments of joy uninterrupted amidst the fog of daily fear. May we hold them in our hearts as we continue in our own call to action against those who are okay with this destruction. May we remember that our homes lie in the hearts around us and apart from us, such as our own hearts who hold homes for our beloveds.
Can we have the children come forward to sit with me and Ray on the steps? I'm going to sit over here. I'm not sure I can get back up again, though. Come on up. So Ray and I are going to talk about hurricanes. We're going to start with this book that I wrote. I'm going to give it to you so you can look at the pictures while I'm chatting. Have you heard about hurricanes recently? Yeah. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of the scientific stuff, which you probably already know, and they probably already know too, but it's always good to have a reminder. So this is a little bit from my book. So did you know that tropical storm and hurricane season is usually from June to November? So that means we have like another month to go. And these storms usually start at the warm waters of the equator. And in the Caribbean Sea, North Atlantic Ocean, and the Gulf of Mexico, they're called hurricanes. And hurricanes can be scary. Their winds shriek and howl. Pictures of them show that a hurricane can look like a donut or a pinwheel. There's a picture that Millie's looking at now. Each one is about 10 miles high and 300 to 600 miles wide. And they move around and forward like a spinning top. They can also be dangerous. Strong winds are unsafe because they scoop up things like bicycles or even small trees. Heavy rains, and these things can fly through the air and cause damage. And then heavy rains can cause flooding. Sometimes 6 to 12 inches of rain will fall in a day during a tropical storm or hurricane. But the worst part of these storms is the surge. A storm surge happens when the ocean rises several feet higher than usual, and waves form on top of that. And hurricane winds are so strong that they can carry off whole forests. They yank roofs off houses and carry boats from the shore, dumping them on roads far away from where they originally were docked. And do you know that once birds from the West Indies were blown all the way to Florida in the United States during a hurricane? Hurricane winds can even make the walls of a house move in and out as though it's breathing. I think I lost a page. I know what page I lost. What's that? You know, I'm going to have to skip that because otherwise you guys will be here all day. But you know what I did want to talk about is that since 1953, meteorologists, and those are the people who study the weather, have given names to tropical storms and hurricanes so that they can keep track of them. The first tropical storm of the season is given a woman's name, starting with the letter A. The second storm is given a B name, and so on through the alphabet. In 1979, men's names were added so that they too could be called powerful storms. Now, names can be repeated every 6 years, so if a storm is very wild and very, very damaging, like hurricanes Katrina and Sandy, they don't use those names anymore. But Ray's going to tell you about some recent names we've heard.
Yeah, do any of y'all know of the 2 big hurricanes that have happened lately? We had Hurricane Helene 2 weeks ago and Hurricane Milton last week. And Helene went all the way up to Virginia, and Milton took out Florida for a little bit. One of the reasons why these hurricanes can be really, really damaging is the amount of water that comes with them. So has anyone ever seen like a big tub of water? Imagine dropping it onto your kitchen floor. I imagine your parents wouldn't be very happy. But that water, where do you think it's gonna go? Yeah, it's just gonna move around. However, if you have a small sink that is stopped up and you take this giant tub of water and you pour it into it, where's that water gonna go? Yeah, it's gonna.
Millie said it's going to go nowhere. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna stay in places. It's gonna create mud. It's gonna start washing away things that shouldn't wash away. And so one of the reasons why Hurricane Helene was a lot was because these valleys and mountains were hit, and those are kind of like small sinks.
So then what happened, Ray? What happened when the water got stuck in the valleys?
There was a lot of mud.
Mud. Wow.
And then parts of the mountain broke off.
Parts of the mountain broke off?
Yep.
Oh, Ray. What, Millie? That is impressive, but it also sounds a little bit scary.
Yeah. It's like almost 200 landslides in a week.
Landslides?
Yeah.
From a hurricane?
It's where the dirt. So, have you ever seen a house off on the edge and there's like a lot of dirt underneath? A landslide starts at the beginning and it'll take out a part of the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sometimes I like to think of it as a very muddy avalanche.
Ooh. And Ray, do you know people who were living there?
Yep. I have lots of friends and family. My partner has lots of friends and family.
We are very sorry to hear that. How are they doing now?
Most of them are okay.
Oh, that's good news.
Yeah, a lot of them, they were able to evacuate safely, and now they are in nearby areas getting water and food and warm clothes and getting it back into the area.
I'm glad to hear that. But I think that what your friends and family experienced is one of the reasons that we are all trying to pay attention to our climate so that we have fewer of these very powerful and scary hurricanes, right? Yeah, but you probably learned about that in school, right? Do you? Okay. Do you have any questions for Ray, since they had experienced that through their friends and family? No? All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing, and all of you for your listening patiently to a science lesson. We're going to sing our children, I'm not sure where. Carol, just follow Carolyn. And have a wonderful day, and thank you. I have a reading that Ray asked me to read, but before I do, I wanted to point out that the music that Dylan is playing for parts of the service today were requests from Ray. They reflect music of Appalachia. Yes? Okay. This is from Firestorm Books, a queer feminist collective in Asheville, North Carolina. The day after Hurricane Helene hit our region, Buncombe County's Assistant Emergency Service Director called the devastation biblical. The phrase has been repeated by other officials and quoted widely in the media. And while it's understandable that a religious reference would resonate in a place that remains deeply impacted by Christianity, the phrase serves more to conceal than illuminate. A biblical event is divine, a catastrophic exercise of power over humanity, an act of punishment. Appalachia's biblical destruction echoes the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers declaration that Hurricane Katrina, which killed 1,392 people, most of whom were Black and working class, was an act of God. When people with power attribute the suffering of those without power to God, they're concealing culpability. The death and destruction in Buncombe County is a direct result of capitalism and environmental extractivism, a logical extension of colonialism and Appalachia's 200-year status as a national sacrifice zone. 100,000 people in Asheville are not lacking water because of God's wrath. We're not without water because corporations and the political class have refused to take action on climate change. We're without water because the city has systematically underinvested in infrastructure while pumping money into tourism for 5 decades. Water problems didn't start with Helene. They've been a regular fact of life in Asheville for years. Thousands of people in Buncombe County are not without food because of God's wrath. We're without food because hundreds of thousands of acres of farmland in western North Carolina have been converted into overpriced subdivisions. We're without food because police departments prioritize protecting grocery stores from looters over wellness checks, while 600 plus community members were missing. Natural disasters bring people together. They bring out our best instincts towards altruism, cooperation, and creativity. They should also make us furious. Our suffering is not biblical. It's distinctively modern, and these leaders are responsible for it.
Today, as we gather in this sacred space, we do so with hearts that have borne witness to the storms of the last few weeks. Disasters, whether they come in the form of natural calamities, personal crisis, or collective struggles, can shake the very foundation of our lives and our communities. They force us, rather abrasively, to confront our vulnerabilities, and they remind us of our shared humanity. In the midst of all this chaos, all this loss, all that is unknown, and all that is so heavy to hold onto our own, there lies an opportunity. An opportunity to come together, to lean on one another, and to embody the love and support that our spiritual walks of life as Unitarian Universalists call us to share. As I explore what it means to be a community amidst disaster, how our individuality is interconnected with our resilience, and this opportunity to come together, I am thinking of those in Southern Appalachia. Marion Key, a member of the West Side Unitarian Universalist congregation, spoke of the Appalachian culture in the 2019 podcast, saying, "Appalachia's culture, history, people, legends, and reality have been shaped by powerful, often extreme factors, from its rugged landscape to centuries of violent conflict and forced industrialization. Yet Appalachian culture endures." This is more prevalent than ever in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Appalachia was not just hit by a hurricane 2 weeks ago, which is already horrifying to realize as these mountains are 300 miles away from the coast. In the days after the hurricane struck, dams gave out, flooding cities with more water than the Niagara Falls dispenses in the span of a year, and taking out whole towns, homes, farms, small businesses, roads, and systems that supply water across western North Carolina and the southern part of Appalachia. Landslides took out roads on all sides of the mountains, leaving communities at the tops of these mountains stranded and with no way out. Southern Appalachia is a region that is historically underserved and ignored in times of crisis. It is devastating to watch some of the poorest communities in these areas of Appalachia be hit the hardest, be left stranded the longest, and to know that these same communities will also have the fewest long-term resources extended towards their rebuilding over the long term. Prisons and jails, such as the Buncombe County Jail, were flooded, leaving the incarcerated neglected of aid, left in dangerous and hazardous conditions, and eerily echoing the stories of history of what happened in Hurricane Katrina. For many in Appalachia, it has become incredibly clear that both the natural world and human life are expendable in the eyes of those in power when it comes to environmental extractivism and capitalism. The peril inherent in choosing to speak about Appalachia today is that I am no longer living there. and I am not someone who has lived there for the majority of my life. I only lived in Swannanoa, North Carolina for 3 years. I recently graduated from Warren Wilson College last spring before coming to New York for seminary. Many of my friends and family live in the areas affected, and despite me no longer being an inhabitant of this community, I am feeling the pain for this community. I imagine that many of you are also feeling for those in the devastated areas, or have friends and families in the areas that have been infected, as well as in Florida in the past week. I am also feeling that as I have the privilege to speak to this congregation today, I also have the duty to share the resilience of the Appalachian culture and community that I have seen from and heard about through close loved ones in these areas. May these stories of resilience be a path to learning and a way to see our interconnected bonds within our community. They are the foundation of our liberation and our survival. A friend who sat across from me in plant physiology class last spring and now lives in Hendersonville called out those who have said that Western North Carolina was not prepared and called for the language to be shifted. To say that Western North Carolina was not given the due diligence by its governing body to evacuate, nor have they given the solutions or issue of not having running water. It is not the people that were unprepared. It is the state that failed the people. Through the stories that this friend has shared in the past 2 weeks, it is clear that the people of Western North Carolina are prepared to keep one another alive, no matter the circumstance. There are autonomous groups that have formed to make sure elderly folks can flush their toilets. There are nurses writing prescriptions in parks and on bridges. There are civilians doing wellness checks, clearing and rebuilding roads, saving lives, distributing resources, and creating networks of care without the help of the state. Another mutual friend in Black Mountain, who has been working on getting water resources to people in need, shared that it is the anarchists, the punks, the rednecks, the churches, a variety of community outreach organizations, mutual aid groups, good-hearted neighbors, and a brewery that are the ones keeping the water resources there and are the ones refilling the water resources. My former soccer coach shared that there are moments of raw compassion and the best of humanity coming forward in light of this devastation. Neighbors are knocking on doors just to get eyes on each other, and strangers hiking into rural areas with mules to bring supplies. This past Wednesday, my partner had their first long conversation with their grandparents after the past 2 weeks. There was so much relief watching my partner laugh as their grandfather told them about the mules bringing water up to their community, which is one of the communities stranded at the top of the mountain. Never thought I would be laughing about mules. Despite the fact that many of these communities have lost homes, loved ones, livelihoods, businesses, financial security, and safety, these communities are showing up for each other rather than turn to a place of fear and a scarcity mindset, such as the cops who are guarding closed corporate stores like our Ingalls down the road from college, threatening people not to take water from abandoned trucks, and county officials trying to shut down at least one free food site. The people of Appalachia turn to a place of compassion and a deep desire to make sure that everyone who is alive stays alive and survives this. There is a lesson in all this. As we watch the news slowly get quieter about the devastation that has occurred, as we collectively go on with our lives, and as we grapple with other things happening, I want to ask that we remember 2 things. The first thing to remember is that we need to keep talking about the devastation that has happened in Appalachia. It's been 2 weeks, and we still have people missing. We still have people dying, and we still have an unprecedented climate crisis on our hands. Please hold Appalachia in your thoughts and your actions. Keep talking about what is happening, as it is still happening for them. And keep finding ways to help. Please hold others and ourselves accountable and learning about the history and evidence of where our country works to conceal its culpability. culpability and the level of devastation that has occurred. The other thing to remember is that there is a power in building community, and it is important that we keep building community. The stories of Appalachia that we are hearing shed light on just how important and powerful it is to have community, how imperative it is for our liberation and for our survival. As one of my first friends I made when I came to North Carolina said, "When all your beloveds are clearing muck, some offering showers, if they live on well water or on a different water supply. Some are flying away, and others are spending every moment supporting direct aid, rebuilding homes, and digging wells. Some are being forced back to work and school. Nothing makes sense, and I don't think that there is safety. But I do believe in the trust and the power of the people." Remember each other in all of this. And remember that within our living tradition, the inherent worth and dignity of every person is intertwined with the interdependent web of all existence in which we are a part of. As we leave this place, I urge us to carry this message and the lessons of those living amidst disaster and devastation into our lives, that our involvement in community work is a sacred calling, a commitment to love in action, and a powerful lesson on survival. Let us seek opportunities to connect with one another, to advocate for those in need, and to create spaces where everyone can find belonging and purpose. Let us go forth with compassion and determination, knowing that in our unity lies the power to transform not only our lives, but also the world around us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Each week we have an offering for our split plate program, which means that undesignated donations are split between the fellowship and our charity of the month unless you indicate otherwise. This month we're supporting the Huntington Youth Bureau Institute, the nonprofit arm of the Huntington Youth Bureau. The Institute was established in 1979 and has as its primary goal the creation, promotion, and implementation of programs and services which stresses youth development and meets the expressed and demonstrated need of youths and their families in the town of Huntington. It helps runaway and homeless youth, at-risk youth, youth in crisis, and youth in need of employment, and aids with independent living skills, civic engagement, and career planning. Ushers will be passing the baskets while Dylan plays for us. And for those of you at home, you can send a check to the office or donate through the website, Zelle, or PayPal. And for all of us, for all you do, and your support for the work we do within and beyond these walls, we give thanks. I invite you to rise in body and spirit, as we sing our closing hymn, which everyone loves, Blue Boat Home. If you need the hymnals, they are on the side. Please be seated for the benediction.
We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together again.